Good afternoon, Fever and Caitlin Clark fans. So, first, let's get some business out of the way. Caitlin Clark is listed now as game day availability, okay, which means they will determine day to day now when she will be in the game. Now, according to the Fever, she is ruled out for tomorrow night's game, okay? So this shouldn't be such a surprise, because while she has been running, she really hasn't been involved in the day-to-day contact practices with her club. So that was one of the other stipulations to her coming back, was that she would have to have at least a week of that under her belt. So, as I said, sometime between the 12th and the 20th, I think she will be back. Tomorrow is the 12th. So we'll see where it goes from here, okay? But I don't believe that they are ruling her out for the season. So what I really am making this video about today is not that. I just wanted to mention that. I really think that Kelly Krauskopf needs a lesson in how to build a brand, because the whole issue of her building the Indiana Fever into an Apple brand is rearing its ugly head again out there on social media. Because initially she had to take her Twitter page down, because when they asked her about, building stuff around Caitlin Clark, she just kind of dismissed that and said that, look, I want the Indiana Fever to be a brand. Right? I don't want it to be about Caitlin Clark. She didn't really say it that way, but that's essentially what she was saying, if you listen to her comments. And she gets so much pushback from fans that she had to take her entire Twitter account down. And honestly, rightfully so, because Kelly Krauskopf may have a good basketball mind, although I say that sometimes myself is questionable. She has no idea how Apple built their brand. So let's discuss that first before we get into why Kelly Krauskopf should be building the Indiana Fever brand around Caitlin Clark. The Apple brand, nobody builds a brand without some kind of an anchor. Okay, you don't just come out and say, hey, we're the Indiana Fever. We're a great basketball team. We're going to be famous all around the country. We're going to be the biggest name in the WNBA. That's not how that shit works, okay? I spent 35 years in marketing and advertising, okay? I did a lot of brand consulting for startup companies when I went out on my own as an independent consultant. So I know something about this, but the Apple brand got its start by the company laying its foundation with what? The Apple II computer. Now, this computer came out in 1977. Okay, I was 23 years old when this computer came out. It was Apple's first major success, and it became a really popular platform. And it became a popular platform for something that no one would ever think Apple would be known for, which was VisiCalc, which was actually a spreadsheet. I bought my first Apple II the following year, the year after it came out. I was working on my own. I was working in a company. I was making decent money, and I bought myself an Apple computer, okay? This is what helped Apple gain a foothold in the computer business. And it became known for its ease of use. It became one of the first companies that could boast that it had a powerful computer that was accessible technology. It wasn't difficult to use, okay? It was their first real success. I know people think now of iPhones and iPads and all of that stuff. That stuff came way later, okay? it became the #1 platform for VisiCalc. And that's a business community, okay? That isn't a consumer community, okay? But it also helped establish a business market for personal computers. So it was more user-friendly than other computers on the market, which meant that more and more people were willing to use it because it wasn't hard to use. So I don't know what it is that Kelly Krauskopf needs to understand, that her brand is Caitlin Clark. Okay, it's an entirely different field. It's almost not, she's probably not using the right, comparison here between Apple and the WNBA and the Fever and all of that, but nevertheless, she did. So let's talk about why Caitlin Clark will help establish the Indiana Fever, and has already started to establish the Indiana Fever as America's team. Come on, folks. Look, we had a girl who came out of college, came into the pros, and shattered all kinds of records for assists, three-point shots, and broke scoring milestones in her very first year. Okay, she broke 62 rookie records, and she did this all while being targeted by other players and manhandled on the court. She did all of this, okay? She was the rookie of the year, and they had already determined that by the middle of the season, okay? She was a starter on the All-Star team, and she was the All-WNBA first-team choice. No rookie had ever done that, okay? That was in her first year. As a result, the Indiana Fever went from barely putting 4,000 butts in the seats of Gainbridge Fieldhouse to seating 17,000 people every single night and having a waiting list for season ticket holders, okay? The media rights are projected to generate $200 million annually based on a widespread vision of Caitlin Clark. In other words, they want Caitlin Clark in the mix because that's how they're going to generate their revenue, okay? She is currently responsible for 1/4 of the WNBA's total economic income, okay? And the projections are pushing towards the $1 billion mark soon. And all of this while she has largely been injured in the second season. None of her popularity is slowing down. She is swarmed with people no matter what arena she goes to. And they have that great line, every game's a home game, but they never put the reason why. The reason why is Caitlin Clark. Okay, it's not because the Indiana Fever has a brand name. It's because of Caitlin Clark. Okay? There is a way to build around Caitlin Clark and not offend the rest of your teammates. Perhaps what should be done is people should explain to the rest of the players, not only on the Indiana Fever, but in the WNBA, what Sophie Cunningham already knows. On her very first podcast, she just said that if you think we would be where we are, you're just effing dumb. If you think we'd be there without Caitlin Clark. She is the face of the WNBA, whether they like it or not. The other players, again, keep going back to Christine Brennan and her book On Her Game. She's absolutely right. They should have prepared the WNBA The brass should have prepared the players for what was coming and what could be with Caitlin Clark and what will be with Caitlin Clark. So instead of trying to hurt her, harm her on the court, and push her out of the game, which they've managed to do this year, and that still isn't slowing down. Nobody's lining up 5 and 10 deep to get Asia Wilson's signature when she travels around to stadiums, or Kelsey Plum, or even Paige Beckers. They're looking for Caitlin Clark. Little girls are holding up number 22 shirts. Little boys are getting basketball signed. Parents are taking selfies with her. What the hell is wrong with you people? She is your meal ticket. She is not someone who is threatening the rest of the players in the league. She is someone who can bring credibility to this league finally, and a better pay level for everybody. And yet people just seem to be stupefied by all of this. This is not rocket science, folks. It just isn't. This is a league that has been toiling for credibility for what, 28 years now? 28 years. And finally, you have a generational player, and she is a generational player. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone convince you that somebody else is just as good a rookie or a better rookie than she was. Don't let anyone else shade you or gaslight you into believing there's been players just like her before that just didn't get the recognition, because that's crap. And there may be some coming on the horizon, but I don't see anybody in the immediate future. Bob Cousy. Anybody who knows the Boston Celtics and knows the Celtics history throughout the 60s and the late 50s knows who Bob Cousy is. Bob Cousy, in my mind, and yes, I'm from Boston, is the premier point guard in basketball. He is a legend. He is a 6-time NBA champion, a 13-time All-Star. And Bob Cousy said that the other players in the WNBA should be kissing Caitlin Clark's feet, not trying to get her knocked out of games. And I will put that article from Bob Cousy in the description of this video. But Kelly Krauskopf, you know, I'm sorry, but you should have had your Twitter account taken down, because you're just as dumb as a stump. In fact, the entirety of the WNBA is asleep at the switch on this one. Because no matter what you try to do, no matter how you try to downplay Caitlin Clark, the fans aren't having any of it, okay? I was at the Connecticut Sun game on July 15th where she got injured. We're still waiting for her to come back from that injury. I know what I saw on the court that night, okay? I know what I saw. And I know what I saw on the streets of Boston. I haven't seen that for the Boston Celtics, and I've been a Celtics fan for decades. Okay? I know what I was looking at on every bar that was around Boston, the TD Garden in Boston. Caitlin Clark watch parties. I know there were fans from the Connecticut Sun there. Their parents had Connecticut Sun shirts on, but their children had number 22 Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever shirts on. And I know that, at least in Indiana, and we're going to do a video on this too, but not today, she has exploded the number of leagues that are available to young girls now who want to play basketball. And there are little girls that you can see on video saying that they'd like to play in the WNBA someday. This is all a boon to the WNBA. And I simply don't understand what they don't understand. But as far as Kelly Krauskopf is concerned, you keep going at it your way. Go ahead. Because you know what? You may never admit to it. You may still get where you're going, but it's going to be because of Caitlin Clark. It's not going to be because of a Fever collaboration on the Stranger Things television show. It's not going to be because you say you want a brand that's equivalent to Apple. You take Caitlin Clark out of Indiana, and I guarantee you, your fortunes will change. I will tell you that right now. Because they will go where Caitlin Clark goes. Caitlin Clark loves Indiana. She said it the other day on the Sue Bird interview. That's where she wants to play. Why don't you embrace her the way she embraces the town and the way she embraces her team? And then it's a win-win for everybody. I will talk to you later.